Hey everyone, Bryony here. Welcome to Gear Tips Wednesdays again. Now after last week's video, which was on shelter systems, I thought this week would be a perfect opportunity to talk knots. Now, I know that guy lines, ropes, knots, they can seem really intimidating, but you don't actually need to know very much to make your camp secure and strong. So today I'm going to run through 4 simple knots. 2 of them are super easy, everyday knots that you probably actually already know. And 2 more are slightly more complex, but they will make setting up any shelter system an absolute breeze. Let's get to it.
Okay, so the first knot that we're going to look at is the simple reef knot, also sometimes known as a square knot. The main characteristics of this knot is, as you can see, it's very symmetrical. The 2 cords coming out of each side are both coming out from that same point there. And the other great thing about a reef knot is that it sits really flat. So the beauty of that is that it's really perfect if you need to set up a sling using a triangular bandage. It's great for your bandana so that you don't have a big lump sticking into the back of your head. And it's also a very strong knot as well. Now let's break this one down and show you the key points to making a good reef knot. Take one in your left hand and one in your right hand. And you simply follow the left over right and under, and then right over left and under. Pull tight and you get a beautiful looking reef knot. So one more time, left over right and under, right over left and under. One thing to watch out for when you're tying a reef knot is to make sure you do that left and then right. What you don't want to do is left and then left. So what happens if you do that is you go left over left and then left over left, is you end up with a rather ugly looking granny knot. So this knot is not as secure, and you can see there's no symmetry. It's very bulky. So if you do this on your bandana, you might notice a big lump sticking into the back of your head, for example. So avoid that by following the left over right and under, right over left and under. The one other beauty about the reef knot is that if it's got to the end of the day, this knot's been sitting here for a while, and it's all really gotten really tight and you can't undo it, what you can do is grab the 2 ends from one side and pull them apart. Then you can just slide the knot apart. Now, if you've got a granny knot, that won't work. But with a reef knot, I'll show you one more time. Doesn't matter how tight it gets. If you can grab 2 ends from one side, pull them nice and tight, you see that the knot just pops apart and you can slide the 2 ends separately. The next knot we're going to look at is the clove hitch. Now this one is also another really simple knot, but it's great if you need to attach a guy line to a branch or perhaps a tree or anything else that you can find around the place. And although it looks very simple and it might have a little bit of give right at the start, once you pull it tight, it locks into place and then it's nice and strong. So let's break this one down. Now a clove hitch is essentially 2 loops. And if you have a branch or a stick that has an open end that you can slide a rope onto, this is one way of doing it. Take your rope and create 2 loops. Now as you can see, these 2 loops, the 2 lengths of rope at the end are facing opposite directions, and the string across that connects them is laying on top. Now if you pick that up and bring those 2 loops together, keep your fingers in there, you can see that you have just created a clove hitch. So if once you've done that, if you have a stick with an open end, you can just slide that on there and tighten it up. Easy as. So that's the first way of making a clove hitch. And as you can see, I'm pulling really hard on that and it's not budging. Now imagine that this branch no longer has a nice round end to slide the rope onto. What you want to do is take your rope, lay it across your branch, bring it underneath, cross it over the rope, go under the branch again, and then you want to thread it underneath the rope you just laid, next to that other strand there. So then once you pull that tight, you can see once again you've created that beautiful clove hitch. So I'll show you that one more time. Take your loose end, put it over the branch, wrap it around and cross over, underneath again, and then in next to that other strand. Pull it nice and tight, clove hitch complete. Great thing about this knot is even once it's been pulled really tight, if you give the loose end a bit of a tug, this one a bit of a tug, it actually kind of loosens the knot off. So at the end of the day, next morning perhaps, it's quite easy to come loose. Okay, so there you have the reef knot and the clove hitch. Next up, I'm going to be showing you the bowline. Now this is a fantastic knot to create a little loop at the end of your guy line, which might be what you connect your tarp onto, or perhaps the fly of your tent. And it's a really strong knot. It's not going to slip at all, so that little loop is going to stay the same size forever. So let me show you how to do this one. Now, I remember my mum teaching me how to do a bowline, and it has a little story to it. But first of all, we have to set the story up. Imagine that this length of string is a tree. At the bottom of the tree is a little hole in the ground. And one trick to make sure is that that piece is sitting on top. So when you make that loop, fold it up and over. So you've got the tree with a hole in the ground by its roots. Okay, so the story goes that once there was a little rabbit, and it came out of the hole, around the tree, and then back down into the hole again. That's it. Pull it nice and tight, and you have a bowline. Super, super strong, nice and neat, simple. So let me show you one more time. Now, some of the tricks that you have to watch out for in the bowline. Make sure that you fold the hole on top. So once again, you've got your cord, bring it up and over. Make sure that the rabbit is coming out of the hole. So it's going from the bottom, he's coming up out of the hole. And then he goes around the back of the tree before going back down into the hole, the opposite direction to which he came from. If you follow those, you'll get a perfect bowline every time. Now I think the bowline is a perfect knot to leave at one end of your guy line so that you can attach it to the tarp or your fly at the other end of your guy line. What you want to have is a nice loop with an adjustable knot so that you can tighten the guy line or loosen it, but when you have tension on it, it won't move. So this knot is called a rolling hitch. And the beauty of it is that once you pull against it, it locks in nice and hard and it doesn't move. However, as soon as you release that tension, you can grab that knot and slide it either direction very, very easily. So let me show you how to make a rolling hitch. Now the rolling hitch I think is one of the most useful knots around, but I have a habit of getting it muddled up. So let's see if we can break it down. First up, you want to get your loose end and make a bit of a loop. Take the loose end, put it on top of the opposite end, and thread underneath and through the loop. Then you want to take that loose end and fold it across, behind, and then back through the loop again. Once more, folding it across for the second time, and then as it comes under, you only need to go under the one string and then thread back through on itself. Let's see how you go. Pull this nice and tight, and there is your rolling hitch. So you can see it's nice and tight now. If I loose off the tension, I can slide it very easily. But as soon as that tension is put into place, it doesn't budge. So let's run that through one more time. Okay, so here we go. Loose end comes over and makes a nice circle. Now this circle can be as big as you like because this is where it's adjustable. So if you make it huge, that's fine, whatever's easy. So take the loose end, put it on top of the other end. Let's get that piece out of the way. Thread it underneath and back through the loop, and then cross over, underneath, back through the loop, cross over again, and then underneath the single one and tie it off underneath itself. Okay, so here we have the reef knot or the square knot, which is great because it's really flat and it's perfect for bandanas or triangular bandages. You've got the clove hitch over here, which is great for connecting to trees, branches, anything like that. You've got the bowline, which makes a perfect little loop for the end of your guy line. And finally, we've got the rolling hitch, which gives you that wonderful adjustable action for your guy lines. And those are my 4 essential knots for the trail. I hope that's helped you somewhat, and if you've got any questions or comments, add them below, and otherwise I'll see you next week.